Welcome to the Brawling Pit. We talk about all things casual and kitchen table magic like Brawl on EDH. You are listening to episode 58. I'm Johnathan, and here's Jacob.
Ahoy!
Hey, how are you doing, man?
I'm not bad, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah?
I mean, yeah, I'm not sick anymore. So
Good.
Hopefully this episode will come out on time.
You know, it's always rough having to, work or, do anything besides lay in bed and play video games when you're really sick. I hate that. I hate it, dude.
Yep.
When I'm feeling bad, just leave me alone. Nobody talk to me. I feel awful.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. And, the video game of choice that I choose when I'm sick, I feel like it might have contributed to worsen my sickness. So I don't know, man. Don't play League of Legends, guys. It's a terrible video
Just
game.
don't play it at all. What? I mean,
well, you can play normal. Just don't play ranked.
okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what are we doing today?
Today we're going to go over the tools that we use in the deck building process, from when you are just exploring ideas to when you're actually finishing up and buying your cards.
That's a really interesting topic. So for me personally, I use a hammer and a saw. So what happens is when I have a good idea, I take my current standard deck, I take it out back, I tie it up against the wall, and I just go at it with a hammer.
Why would you do that?
Because I need to interrogate my deck for a good idea. I mean, that's just what I do. What do you do?
I start off the process by exploring ideas, and that's when you, for example, when you look at a card and you're like, oh, this is a really interesting card. I can probably maybe build a commander
So
around it.
tame. You're so nice.
Or when I see a card that, maybe standard viable, maybe I can build a standard deck out of this one, So it's always, most of the time, it starts with a card or multiple cards, interaction that you see, and you're like, okay, this is interesting. Maybe I can do something with this.
I have a question for you.
Yep.
What kind of mechanic pops out at you that makes you say, oh, that could be interesting? This is a slight tangent. A very, very slight tangent.
I don't know. It's just whatever pops out when you are looking through your cards. Happens a lot when you're sorting.
So for me, I'm like a Johnny Spike,
Sure.
So oh my god, dude. It can be anything. Anything that looks off the wall but competitively viable, I'm doing it. That's just me though. To summarize it in a sentence, that's just me.
Yeah, I go more of a Timmy Johnny route. If I win, I want to win with really, really, in a really splashy way.
Alright.
Yeah, the group hug deck that we talked about in episode 35, for example, is an example of a deck that wins in a really flashy way, literally taking all your opponent's permanents and killing them in one turn.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so...
that's just what I've heard. Killing people in one turn, usually good, but hey, I've been wrong before.
Yeah, I have a running Google Doc. So, I use a Google Doc. It's on my phone. I can access it from my PC, so it's easy, right? So I just have things snooked down. I'm like, oh, this card can be interesting. So I'll have a page of that card, and then it's blank until I work on it. So there are many, many blank pages.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how I start the idea exploring process. You can also use Notepad or OneNote.
I use Notepad. Alright.
Okay.
I'm a little bit crazy anal with my note keeping process. So first of all, I do almost journal format, and you don't need to do this, by the way. But I'm weird. Alright. I will start off with a date and a time, and okay, this is what I'm working on today, and I never delete. And I just jot down my thought process, jot down the cards I want or whatever. That way, if I'm ever what in the world was I thinking, I can just go back and just look at my thoughts for that day. That way I'm never in the dark for myself. Because I used to have that problem all the time. I'd be like, why did I play this card? And then it's oh, that's why I played the card, duh.
I see. So it's okay if you forgot why you're doing a certain thing because you have everything written down, so you don't need to remember that.
Exactly, and the same thing goes with like future deck iterations. So like if I have like version 1 of the deck, and if I make a change, I just copy and paste the deck and like make a brand new deck, and then just change what I want to change. I never ever like delete a deck, so to say. No, I mean obviously if like you're playing online, you don't have unlimited deck slots like on MTG Arena, right? So you just gotta like write it down somewhere. But like, trust me, that has saved me a lot of time, headache, and possibly tournaments when I was building a deck. It's so just if you can, just archive your past deck list.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. So once you get your idea on paper, right? Like for the next step, which is the actual deck building process, when you're trying to look for cards to fit into the deck possibly, or when you are looking through cards and try to organize the deck together, like maybe a first draft, what do you do? Do you still use Notepad, or are there other cards, other tools that you use to help you through that process?
So for a first draft, I usually use a combination of Notepad, and if it's like a really complicated deck, or if it's like a completely brand new brew and I'm not basing it on anything, then I will use like Tapped Out or something. And the reason being is, I've done a lot of deck building in my time, so I don't need a ton of help. But like, if I have a really complicated build going on, then I like to have Tapped Out because I can see like the math and the stats and the graphs that it gives you. I've done it before by hand, but like Tapped Out just does it for you. Like, why would you like do it by hand? Like, you have a calculator, just do it right there.
Yeah, and Tapped Out is tappedout.net. I almost always just start with Tapped Out. I never do it by hand because, like Jacob said, having the stats on hand is really important, and being able to see that as you're building the deck, I think is very, very useful. In fact, every single deck that comes off this podcast started on Tapped Out.
Yep. Tapped Out is one of the better deck building sites that I've experienced, and I played Magic for a long time. I've experienced a lot of deck building sites. Some of them aren't that good, you know, and for like a wide array of reasons. All of them probably well intended, right? Like, sometimes the UI isn't good, sometimes they're not stable, sometimes they lose your deck. I'm not kidding, by the way. Sometimes they literally lose your deck. You know, sometimes the sign-up process is a hassle. I'm not sponsored by Tapped Out, by the way, but yeah, that's just honestly how I feel.
Yeah, it's a good site, even though we're not sponsored.
We should be sponsored.
Let us know. Contact us. But when you're looking for cards, you don't just use Tapped Out, right? Because Tapped Out doesn't really help you through looking for cards.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. What do you use? Do you use Gatherer?
I use Gatherer, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're always the most up to date. I have in the past used like card search or whatever, but it just wasn't as good. It was really complicated, and like I mean I could have sat there and like figured it out, but like it just wasn't worth my time when I already knew how to use Gather. And Gather search is good enough. Unless it's down. Yeah. If it's down.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy. I mean, when you see the Wrath of God page, then just wait a couple minutes. But Gather is very useful. Like for example, when I'm putting +1/+1 counter deck, all I need to do is go to the advanced search and look up +1/+1 counters in the rules text and filter out the colors I need, and voila,
I feel like a lot of
every single card.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people underestimate the advanced search function.
Yeah, it's basically a SQL query that allows you to like.
Yeah, it's great.
It's really easy.
I know for me in my metagame, it's giving me a huge edge, and I know like for like international kind of like events, it's caught me up. It's enabled me to be competitive in like an international sense. It's like it kind of replaces having a huge network of like pros like to talk to and be like, well, I need a card that does this, and then like no, or like enfranchise veteran players. It is being able to navigate Gather and take the time to sift through every single card that you need because you're good with Gather and you're good with searching for what you need.
Yeah, that's a pretty good tool. But what if you're looking for like similar cards, right? Like when you are looking at, like for example, when you're building commander, we always talk about this. You want redundancy in your deck, so it's more consistent. But looking for +1/+1 counters on a fan search doesn't really give you like this card and this card are very similar, that kind of thing, right? So for example, when you're looking for board wipes, like board wipes is an easy example. You just search destroy all, blah blah blah.
Yep.
Like so, you know, Wrath of God and Damnation are pretty much the same card if you're in white and black.
Or
But
if you need not literal board wipes, but like effectively board wipes, then you have to start searching. Well, do I also search like do X damage to all creatures or give all creatures like a minus something? You also have to remember to search for those too, because your destroy all creatures text will not find those. You have to
right. But
yeah.
what if it's like something that's less obvious than like where do you start? So for example, what Hybrid Crassus from Ravnica Allegiance, like how do you know that if you don't know that Sphinx's Revelation has that effect? How do you find the similar card in History of Cards?
Well, so I mean, you can either know the effect that you're looking for and you gather and search for keywords similar or exactly, or if you're not sure and you have no idea where to start, and maybe your gather search doesn't yield anything, or your search engine of choice, there are two options that you have, and both have their ups and downs. So one is Mythic Spoiler. Okay. The upside to Mythic Spoiler, they have a function on their cards where you can look at it, you can click on a card, and you can see, oh, a similar card is this card. And those are added manually, and so almost always they're a good substitute, or like an addition. But the downside is that they don't have as many cards on there. Like, the card has to have been spoiled by Mythic Spoiler, and so you only get cards like 5 or so, maybe 6 or so use that.
Oh, yeah.
But like the related cards go infinitely back, as far back. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like the card that's similar to has to be within the last 6 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There's another search engine though that's like similar card search or something.
Okay.
You can search for any card, and you get a ton of results back, but almost always it's a load of crap. Almost always it's just bad. Like it's I don't know. I haven't had much luck with it, but I mean, I guess it's possible. I just suck at using it or something. I don't like to think that because I think I'm pretty good at using a search engine, but I guess it's possible. Like it just gives you a ton of crap that you don't want. You know, like.
Yeah, I mean, like when everything is computer generated, there's always that factor of like the computer just gets confused.
Yeah.
About like it's reading this parameter, but it doesn't know that this is not what you want. So
exactly, yeah. It's just their AI isn't there yet. I'm sure if they are making an AI, hopefully that you know what I'm saying, like gets around there soon and trains it, and that'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah. So it's getting there.
But yeah, for similar card search, it's tough. If you don't know the keywords or your keyword search doesn't like help you, like it's getting ugly there. You might just be better off asking like a friend or something.
Yep. Also, if you have been sorting your cards and organizing everything, you can just go to the box that you put all your that thing card and look for those cards. That's also an option.
Yeah, if you got sorted cards, which we highly recommend you do, then you can be your own encyclopedia, so to say. No, sorry. You can be your own thesaurus. Your own card thesaurus.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard, though. Finding similar cards is tough. It's the hardest thing about like deck building for like eternal formats.
That's really tough. What do we have next, man?
What
do you do after you finish building it? Like, what do you do after you finish building a deck? Say you have your first draft. You just got your first draft of your deck done.
So I've got my first draft of the deck. The next thing is you gotta playtest it. You know, you can't like
Really no.
Yeah, you don't want to like walk into the Grand Prix with draft number 1 of your deck. Optimally, I know some people have, and spoilers, they didn't do very well. But you know, you want to have multiple iterations of your deck, because chances are, as good of a deck builder that you might be, chances are your first draft is not that good. Or it's like not as optimal as it could be, you know? And I'm not talking about like going from like a 90, I'm not talking like 98 to 99%, because like getting your deck from like a 98 to 99%, that takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know? But like,
absolutely.
But like going from like 60 to 90%, that's usually pretty easy.
Yeah.
So chances are, even if you're a really good deck builder and you land somewhere like an 80% deck, it's still within reasonable effort to get it to like a 90-95% deck. So playtest it, and there are a lot of ways that you can playtest the deck. The first way, which should be really obvious, is to proxy it up and play with your play group. Just say, hey, I'm testing a deck. You guys mind if I use proxies? And if you're reasonably good friends with your play group, they should not really care, probably.
Yeah, or if you have a printer, just print out a gauntlet of whatever format of you're choosing, and just like you can either play against yourself or have someone pilot the gauntlet decks. It's easy. All you need is like a proxy card, and print the card names and casting costs on it, right? Because if you, so you can basically put like for example, Modern Merfolk and Modern Burn on the same card.
Yep.
In the same deck, and you can use that exclusively for playtesting.
Yeah. No, I've done that before. So there's an issue though. This requires that you have friends to play with.
Oh man, are you implying that the brawlers have no friends?
No. I mean, we're just gonna say this just for the record. We know that you guys have friends, but that's not what I'm saying. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We know you have friends. Totally. We know you totally have friends.
We're your friend.
Yeah, we're your friend. Well, let's say, it's 3 a.m. and you gotta get some last minute testing in, right? And no reasonable person is up at 3 a.m. Alright?
Yeah, if you wake me up as a friend at 3 in the morning,
like, someone better be
anymore.
dead. Well,
Yep.
no, I have a line to cross. Like, if you wake me up at 3 in the morning, someone better be dead. You know what I'm saying?
If someone isn't dead, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
So, if you're in like that kind of situation, you have to turn to another avenue called the internet.
Yep. There are multiple places you can get your playtesting done, and a lot of people use Magic Online.
Yeah, and in some ways, it's more efficient than paper testing, because the computer will do everything for you. It'll shuffle for you, it'll generate random stuff for you, tokens, everything. Whereas when you're, like, I'm serious. When you play in paper, you waste a lot of time. You are really inefficient. And I'm not saying that to be mean, I'm saying that very matter-of-factly. Like, shuffling, that takes time. Fumbling with your dice, that takes time. Writing down life totals, that takes time. Confirming life totals, that takes time. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like,
Arguing your friends, that takes time.
Yeah, eating food, that takes time. Well, I mean, you have to eat food anyways. But, like, what I'm saying is, you waste a lot of time. But, like, the computer takes care of all that for you. So
you're saving a lot of times by playtesting on Magic Online.
Yeah. One thing that I personally have used in the past is cockatrice.
What is cockatrice?
Yeah, a lot of people don't like cockatrice, actually. And for good reason. The service has a lot of downsides to it. It really does. Typically, the quality of play you find on cockatrice isn't very high. Almost everybody you find on there is gonna suck. Like, I'm just being honest here.
Yeah, these are the people who doesn't want to spend money to play Magic. So
yeah.
The reason why they're not on Magic Online and are on Cockatrice is because they're just not as enfranchised as people who are on the Magic Online.
Exactly. And but like that kind of sucks though, because if you're like on the poorer end, but you're still trying to do well, you know, then and you can't like. First of all, if you're like really, really dirt poor, you probably shouldn't be playing this game. I'm sorry. Like, if I'm not saying like, oh, if you don't have like 100 grand income. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you're actually struggling to like make rent at the end of the month, Magic might not be a smart choice. That's not what I'm saying though. Like let's say you can afford Magic, right? But like you can't afford to just like drop all your money, at the drop of a hat for a new deck that you might think might be cool, right? Or maybe you don't have like a huge collection, you know? Cockatrice is great for just feeling the deck out. And what's even better is if you have friends that play Cockatrice and you know that they're at least somewhat competent. That's the key thing. You can't just use Cockatrice blindly and match up with anybody. You have to be careful who you play against. Because, you know, some people don't know the rules. Some people, they're not very good. There's like a ton of reasons why Cockatrice isn't that good. And all of them need to be acknowledged. Best thing you can do, play against yourself.
Yeah, if you are in standard, another really fast way and possibly cheap way to play test is on Magic Arena. MTG Arena has really, really fast queue time, or depending on your rank. But if you're playing ranked, or if you're not playing ranked, then it has really, really fast queue time. You can build your deck really quickly if it's a standard deck, and same argument with Magic Online and Cockatrice. Everything is done for you, so it's really, really fast. The only downside is if you want to unlock best of 3, you do have to have place in Plat. At one point, I don't know if they changed that, but you do have to have been a Plat player if you want to play test your best of 3 decks. Otherwise, it will be best of 1.
Yeah, if you're trying to sideboard, if you're specifically trying to test sideboarded games, you might be better off just playing in person with proxies.
Or get Plat.
Or play Cockatrice.
Alright, so we have our decks put together, we finished playtesting, we adjusted our decks and whatnot. What do you do next?
So, the last step is you have to go get the cards. You know? You can't play Magic without the deck, unless you're playing Cockatrice, in which case you can skip this last step if you want, but not recommended. You have to go get your cards somewhere, or obtain them somehow, right? You've got a full deck list, you tested it, iterated upon it, you know, you asked some friends around, but now it's time to actually bring your idea to fruition. Most decks should not get to this stage, if I'm being honest. Like most decks or deck ideas should like get stopped cold at, you know, the initial rough draft phase. Because probably what happens, I'm not saying that everybody's ideas are bad, by the way, but like most of the time what happens, for me at least, is I'll have an idea and it's like a really dumb idea, right? I'll look it up and I'll look up some cards and like there's just not enough support for this for like the level of play that I want, and so it just doesn't happen, you know? But
sure.
like, yeah, but let's say you manage to get all this way, you've got a real deck now, you've got a deck that you're happy with. How do you go get the cards? First of all, if your LGS has it, strongly consider going to get the cards from your LGS.
Oh yeah, always support your LGS before anyone else, because most of the time you play Magic at your LGS, so you want them to be around, right? If they're not around, you lose a hub to play Magic.
Yeah. And you know, they're another store to have tournaments at too, you know, like if you want like RPTQs or PPTQs. Stores are bottlenecked at running one a month. If you didn't know that, by the way, guys. So, if that's your 4th store, and you like having a PPTQ every week, and that store goes under because you didn't support them, well, now you have an off week. That's assuming that you also have a judge to run it every week too, but you know.
That's also assuming that you're a PPTQ grinder.
That is also true. All the above are true. But what we're saying is support your LGS. That's all we're saying. That's all we're saying, guys. Try to support your LGS. But let's say you don't have an LGS. Maybe you're like in Antarctica or something and you don't have an LGS. What do you do?
Hey, are you saying Antarctican people cannot play Magic the Gathering?
No, they can. They just have to play online.
Okay. Well, if they don't have an LGS, they can get their cards from multiple sources. So each of these things that we're about to list has their own upside and downside. And what I usually use is cardkingdom.com because their shipping is very, very fast.
And they're reasonably priced.
And we are not sponsored by
No,
any of these
we're not
guys.
sponsored by Card Kingdom. And like Card Kingdom, they're reasonably priced. Usually they're not the absolute lowest price, but like they're still pretty good.
Yeah, and they have a really, really conservative grading. So if they say it's near mint, you can expect pack fresh. If they say it's lightly played, it may be like one scuff on a card pack.
They took it out and put it in a sleeve.
Exactly.
So yeah, that is another really big plus for Card Kingdom. I've used Card Kingdom before, and I can definitely attest to that. They're pretty good. I usually end up nowadays though just going with TCG Player because I'm a spike. I just want to play with the card. I don't really care, you know. So TCG Player, almost always the cheapest price. The same as the card gradings are usually accurate enough, and they ship within a reasonable amount of time. I mean, sometimes, that's also a downside though. Sometimes I've had to wait like a week on my cards. Happens sometimes. You're not going to get the fastest shipping for these cards. You are, however, paying the lowest price though. So, I'm pretty much like guaranteed you're going to pay the lowest price on TCG Player. Very rarely will you not. So, I usually just end up using TCG Player because I plan ahead in advance. I'm usually not in like a spot where I'm like, I need the cards like yesterday. And that almost never happens to me.
So TCG Player really, really cheap. One downside I can think of is if you're not buying through TCG Player Direct, which is something that you should be careful about on TCG Player. If the store or the seller is not selling through TCG Player Direct, sometimes your card can take a long time before you get the card.
I think the worst I've ever had it was I had to wait like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and
it was bad.
It is also possible that the store it could have gotten robbed, or it could, something bad could have happened to those stores, and you just don't get those cards. They can cancel your order.
Yep, I've had that before, unfortunately.
So just gotta be careful on TCG Player. This is something that you don't have to deal with Card Kingdom. Another source though. If you have a lot of time on your hands and you have absolutely nothing better to do with your time, you can use eBay.com.
Yeah, and I almost never recommend eBay because they're not the cheapest and they're not the fastest. And sometimes they just cancel your order too. TCG Player does have a little bit of protection against that. But sometimes, very, very rarely, eBay has the cheapest price. It's so rare though. I almost just don't even check eBay at this point anymore, but I used to.
But if you use things like if it's not a buyout, if it's like a bidding, sometimes you can luck into a card for a lot cheaper than what it should be.
I remember, I think my best haul from eBay, I think I got like a playset of Sacred Foundries for like $23 under market price for what it would cost for like a playset of those, like normally.
Yeah.
So that's that. It was only $23, guys. that was my best haul for like all the effort I put into like checking eBay for every new card that I need instead of just like buying it from TCG Player and being done with it.
Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah.
If you have the time, you can check eBay. Like I said, sometimes, not usually, you will find a better price on eBay. But if you don't have that much time on your hands, like, you're not going to miss out much by shopping at like TCG Player or Card Kingdom. You're really not going to miss out that much.
Yeah, but that's it for our deck building process. What do you think and what do you do? Let us know on our social media. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at Brawling Pit. Find us on Reddit at r/Brawling Pit. You can email us at brawlingpitmtg@gmail.com, or you can visit our official website at brawlingpit.com. As always, I've been Johnathan, and he has been Jacob. See you guys next build.
Hey!
Hey, buddy, what's up?
So, something really interesting happened to me.
Really? What happened?
I got to meet an anesthesiologist the other day. Like, and I wasn't actually being put under for surgery, by the way. So
You gotta meet what?
I got to meet an anesthesiologist.
Okay.
And this person, by the way, if you don't know, an anesthesiologist is someone that, well, they control the anesthesia for you when you get put under for surgery. And this might just seem like just inject them with like some gas and then they go. No. Okay. Anesthesia has come a long way. It has. However, it can still kill you. Okay? Because they need to constantly be there to administer the exact right amount. Otherwise, you will not wake up.
Oh,
Right?
okay. So this is the dude that makes sure you go under, but
And
not too deep.
Yeah, but not too deep. Yes. It's like they literally have to perform a balancing act the entire time.
Wow.
And if they mess up, then you can either wake up during the surgery, which would be very unpleasant, or you will die. One of those two.
Yeah, I really think you shouldn't do either of those things.
Yes. So I got to meet this guy the other day, and he was just the most fascinating character I've ever met. He showed me tons of pictures of like surgeries that were happening during like the process. Like, have you ever seen? Do you know what a brain aneurysm is?
I know what an aneurysm is, and I know what a brain is, but I don't know what a brain aneurysm is.
Well, it's an aneurysm that happens in your brain, I think.
Oh,
well,
okay.
Okay, and so it's like kind of like a little blood clot, kind of almost. You know, it like bulges up. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Okay. He got to show me a picture of someone's like a brain aneurysm happening. All right, like they had a bone saw, like they cut into his head, like we saw the brain.
Wow. Okay.
For me, it was really interesting because the story that he told, which I believe based on the picture, was it had gotten if the aneurysm ruptures and the blood goes out, you're dead. You're gone. It's over. Life's over. Literally.
Well,
and this aneurysm has gotten so huge, and they can't tell how big it is because that's why they're cutting in. You know. If they were even just half a centimeter to the left with their bone saw, the guy would have died.
oh my gosh. I recommend not trying to kill that guy.
Oh my goodness. So that was all over lunch, by the way. He was showing all these pictures over lunch.
Oh jeez.
I didn't mind though. It was awesome. So big respect for anesthesiologists. I mean, I knew what an anesthesiologist did prior to this lunch, but now that I got to like see pictures and stuff, it's like, okay, twice the respect now.
Oh, absolutely. Wow.
Don't piss off your surgeon or anesthesiologist, guys.
Yeah, you definitely want to befriend them.